Well, baby, let's cruise.
Come on.
Y'all know how I do this. Well, before we get into how I do this and how Stephanie does this, hello and welcome to the Pitchy Podcast. We're your hosts, James
and Stephanie.
Here on the Pitchy Podcast, we are always so passionate about good music and a great vocal. We'll use the vehicle of NBC's The Voice to give you our take on each contestant. We'll give you our feedback on their voice and their overall performance here on the Pitchy Podcast.
Come on.
We'll keep it 100 with the feedback and critiques of each contestant's vocal and overall performance. But what we're never here to do is come for anyone's character or any contestant as a human being. Now, we may come off a little pitchy at times. If you know what I mean, we'll do our best to speak our truths with love, kindness, and always R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Yes.
And with that, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Because like Stephanie always says, we are real people living real lives.
Yes.
But we are just uber excited to talk about the very last night of the knockout round.
That's right.
Because it's just so much. So we're going to jump right in, everyone.
That's right.
I told Stephanie last night, I said, you know what? I'm going to take notes on this one because I know there's going to be a lot to say.
Yes.
So without further ado, Stephanie, let's get down to business. Come on.
All right, let's go. So our first knockout was from Team Nile. We had EJ Michaels. He sang Trip Switch by Nothing But Thieves. And we had Michael B. And he sang When You're Gone by Shawn Mendes.
I was really looking forward to this battle for two reasons. One, Stephanie, I think for the same reason that we both really wanted to hear EJ sing more. It feels like it's been a while since we heard EJ because I think he was so early in the battles.
Yes.
That it's not that you forget, it's just you want to remember.
Yeah.
And then of course Michael B. Michael B's Michael B. And so I thought it was very interesting because both of them actually took risks. EJ took a risk by choosing a song that a lot of people don't know, by artist or a band that a lot of people don't know. And outside of the normal genre he may, sing in.
Right.
I'm not saying that he doesn't moonlight in many genres, but with that. And then Michael B took a risk because he sang a song that wasn't as, I'm not going to say dramatic, but wasn't as big or didn't have a lot of vocal fanfare and a ton of runs and because they always say, he's our Broadway guy.
Right.
Even though I don't necessarily agree with that because when people think of Broadway, they think of a certain type of sound, and Michael B definitely doesn't have that sound. But getting into it first, EJ, the first thing I noticed about EJ, Stephanie, is I loved how he worked the stage. EJ was working the stage, and you often have to be a little careful when you work the stage because some people don't have the breath support and to work a stage while they're singing full out. But EJ really did. And I loved how he really used the stage. He looked comfortable and it didn't come off, even though EJ at times was jumping around, it didn't come off as manic to me.
Okay.
Sometimes people, when they jump around, like they get a little ahead of themselves. And I just felt like EJ always knew what he was doing. Now, the song choice I found very interesting. Because I wasn't quite sure because I obviously had never heard of the song, and I just was like, "Wow, It's all about sometimes you have to be very tactical with your decisions and strategic." And I was like, is this a huge risk for him to sing this type of song this early in the round? And so the thing that I like about EJ is, and EJ reminded us of this, is EJ's got range. He has got an incredible range that he is in control of. EJ's highs are beautiful. He has a great chest voice as well. The only, I guess, pitchy part, not he wasn't pitchy, but I would watch that passage between the chest and the high voice, or the passaggio as they call in technical terms, um, between the high. I felt like it got a little muddy in there, and I don't know if that had anything to do with the performance part of it. The thing is that I love the performance part of it. Stephanie will tell you I'm all about the performance. Stephanie and I both, we're all about the performance. Like, that's the first thing that's going to draw us in. um Sometimes it'll draw us in faster than the voice will draw us in. And EJ's got a very, very powerful voice. And I thought the choice paid off, especially Kelly's like, oh, no, 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 I'm stealing that, that's gonna be in my show next week, that's gonna be on my show. And that to me is like mission accomplished as far as EJ goes. Because, and you know, I'm sure the artist will probably hopefully reach out to EJ too and be like, thank you for putting my song on the map, because it opens its song up to a whole nother group of people who've not heard it. Okay, so moving on to Michael B. Um, Stephanie and I were, she was a little ahead of me last night when we watched, because we both kind of started late. And I called Stephanie. I think I called after this battle, Steph. I can't remember. But the first thing I said is like, you know what, Michael B, I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you, Michael B, because I was
Yes.
like, dude, you are so low-key confident that you gave I would use the word subdued, almost a subdued performance for 85% of the song, 85% of the song. And then you let it go, and then you reminded us why you're Michael B, right?
Come
That
on.
was like at the very end of the song. But the thing that was so brilliant about what Michael B did is, in that subdued portion of the song, he like took us by the collar and pulled us in.
That's right.
Like, seriously. Like, I
That's
just was
right.
like, wow. Like, it was captivating. It was captivating. And that to me is the sign of a not only a seasoned performer, but somebody who always knows what direction they want to go with interpretation.
Yes.
And this was a huge risk, because let's face it, on these singing competitions, these reality singing competitions, a lot of times the things that get noticed are the big notes,
Yes.
the big, the fanfare, the vocal gymnastics, as they say.
That's right.
And it was so subdued. It was so sung straight.
Yes.
Like 80%, 85% of the song was sung just straight, no runs. And Michael B just kind of stood there and sang. But it was so captivating.
Absolutely.
And that to me is a testament of his just energy that he gives on stage. We always often talk about the X factor. Some people have it, some people don't. There are these intangibles that you can't just describe, that some people just have. Some people just are drawn in. And that to me was, I saw another level of a performer in Michael B last night.
Absolutely.
And then Michael B said, let me remind you, at the end of his song, where he did a couple of incredible runs, where he went into his falsetto, and it was glorious, and and he just did it, and it was just such a complete performance, and it was one of my favorites of the night. And I didn't want to, it's weird, Stephanie, I didn't necessarily want to like it at first, because I was like, what is he doing?
Right.
Michael B, you got all that voce, you got all that voice, and but then I was like, oh my gosh, I see exactly what you're doing, because I'm leaning forward like, what is he going to do? What's he going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think Chance even said, did he say like, there it is or something?
Yes,
like
at the end. At the end, he did this run at the end. He was like, there it is.
He said, there it is. and people were like, yo, that was crazy. All right, Stephanie, I cannot wait to hear what you're going to say about EJ and Michael B.
This knockout battle was the tale of kind of polar opposites as far as performance, all around performance goes. The music, the look, both of their looks on stage, and the kind of energy that they both had on stage. For EJ, I'm with Kelly. I hadn't heard the song, but like I didn't have time last night and I didn't have time today. But after we record, like I want to find this song and hear it again because it was a hot song. It was interesting because EJ brought a kind of whispery rock tone to the verses of the song that kind of reminded me of Devix from last season.
Yes.
He had total command of the stage, like he was working the stage. I could tell that he had been on stages before because he looked really comfortable being that demonstrative on stage. His vocal showed a lot of diversity. You had that whispery kind of thing in the verses, but then you had something different in the choruses. You had power. You had not lack of power, but like kind of softer tones at some point. Like there was a lot of diversity in his vocal, and he's shown us over his course of this season a variety in the different kind of songs he'll sing. So I thought that was really cool. I thought that while there was a lot of energy and a lot of stage presence, there was a teeny bit of lack of control, in my opinion. I felt like some of his vocal, especially at the ends of lines, did suffer a bit because of all of the jumping and all of the energy that he was giving. So in that sense, I thought that was a little bit risky to... I don't want to say overperform, but to perform to the point where your vocal may suffer just a bit because of lack of breath control, because of all of the energy. Shifting to Michael B. I, like you, was a little bit worried at the beginning of this performance because it stayed in such a low, monotone, very somber state for so long that it was like, oh, you gonna do the big thing? Like you gonna do the Michael B things that we're used to. But I think Michael B wanted to show us and prove to us there is more to me than runs. There is more to me than all these big notes. I talked about what they were wearing. Like EJ had this energetic, big performance with like this flashy sequined jacket thing on. Michael B came in looking
like a poster child from Gap.
Yes. Michael B had on like a blazer, a turtleneck, and jeans, like looking like a college professor, like very subdued, but I thought that was part of what was impactful because he was telling a story. And by the time I realized that in midway, because of some of the choices that he was making, even midway in the song, there were parts where he could have, and he did go up higher in his register just a little bit, but then he took it back down. I was like, oh, I see you. I see what you're doing because you're going to give it to us all the way at the end. He was telling us a story through this song, and he did it very impactfully. And then when he did that falsetto at the end, I was like, okay, I see what you just did. It's still a risk because I hope that the judges pick up on what you did, especially after such an energetic performance and a great performance by EJ. I really hope the judges really honor what you did and really saw the journey that he took them on. And I was just, thinking like, I really hope that this choice, this risk worked for him.
And
it did. It did. Niall ended up choosing Michael B to move on to the playoffs.
Yeah. And it's sad to see EJ go. EJ's a very, very talented artist.
Yes.
Because I would have loved to have seen him more at the keys as well.
Yeah.
He plays as well.
Yes.
So, it was sad to see him go.
Yeah.
All right, Stephanie. Because time's a wasted.
Yes.
As Erykah Badu so eloquently told us.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next battle.
Okay, so next up was from Team Chance. We had Jamar Langley, and he sang Cruisin' by Smokey Robinson. And then we had Magnus, and he sang Ordinary People by the John
The
Legend.
John Legend.
Yes.
Voice coach extraordinaire.
Yes.
Emeritus, because he's no
Yes.
longer there.
Oh, yes.
I had seen Stephanie manages the Pitchy podcast social media outlet, and I had seen because Stephanie had posted who the knockout battles were going to be with tonight or last night, excuse me, and I was so worried. Like when I saw this one, I just was shaking my head. I was like, this isn't fair. It's just not fair. But Stephanie and I have been saying that this season is so deep in talent that there was just going to be it was just going to be a bloodbath,
right?
And that it was with this this knockout round lived up to every expectation that I expected, and I know Stephanie expected. So jumping right in, Jamar. This is what I wrote. I only wrote a couple of things about Jamar. I put in caps, and I had text Stephanie this, and she responded with the same in caps. No, actually, I text Stephanie this word, and then Stephanie responded in caps with exclamation points. I put stone cold.
Stone cold.
And Stephanie texted me back, stone cold, yelling.
Yes.
In caps. I said, Jamar done carjacked this round. He stole this round.
Yes.
I put what, Stephanie, you know what the sign 187 stands for? And police?
No.
You know what that call is?
Is that robbery?
No. Murder, death, kill.
Ooh.
187.
187, Jamar.
187, I'm the undercover cop. It means murder, death, kill. Jamar treated this and attacked this like he was visiting The Voice.
Right.
Like he was the guest artist who had a 60-plus year career.
Right.
And I'll let Stephanie say who she was looking for when she gets to her part.
Yes.
This cracked me up. I'm going to say that for Stephanie. It was incredible. And there was a note that Chance, I can't believe it was Chance or Reba gave the band.
Yes.
And they said, what I don't know who it was. I can't remember, Stephanie, but he said, band, come down at the very beginning, come down, bring it down, and let it just, not just be Jamar, but you all play under Jamar.
Right.
Let the guitar, Jamar's brilliant shredding,
come on,
and voice be heard in the beginning of the song. And it wasn't that he was shredding; it's just Jamar's that good of a guitar player.
Right.
It was very understated guitar intro because that song, it's smooth. It's Motown, right? It's Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, which later became a huge reboot when D'Angelo in the 90s brought it, rebirthed it. And I was like, how can you follow Smokey and how can you follow D'Angelo with this song? Well, Jamar, the thing about Jamar is like, to me, his voice has no limits. Like, when he started singing it kind of straight, but then he went right into every choice that Jamar makes is musical. It's musicality. Jamar's voice is just, it's an instrument. You can tell that, I don't know if he played before he sang, but you can just tell by the way his voice moves, like by the way he navigates his choices.
Yes.
Ali's the same way, even though I don't know if Ali plays instruments. It's the same way. It's the way they just navigate the choices. It's very melodic and it's very instrumentally melodic, if that makes sense, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
And Jamar just, I listened back to this like probably 5 times because it's another one of those performances that and the rarity of the performance where it you catch something new every time.
That's right.
Because there was so much happening, especially towards the end of the song. Jamar snapped, and towards the end of the song.
That's right.
And it was just where D Smooth is that 90s Jodeci, Casey JoJo type singer. Jamar he's a throwback. He's a throwback to a sound where singers just don't sing like that anymore.
No, they don't.
Like I'm talking about 50-year throwback.
Yes.
And he doesn't sound old-fashioned.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right.
It's not like you're like, oh, okay, well, that sounds good, but a little old-fashioned, a little dated. No. I feel like Jamar is one of those singers where he can take any song, he's going to make it sound like Jamar, because I have a feeling he's going to sing modern songs.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
What was it? What was the song that they did in the battle?
Yes, they did John Mayer. Gravity.
Yeah, they did Gravity, which is
Hallelujah.
Granted, that's John Mayer kind of wrote that in the style of a throwback, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he's going to be able to do modern songs, and he's one of those rare singers. I put people like Patti LaBelle in this category, where they will take any song that is put in front of them and make it 100% theirs.
Come on, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Come on, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You'll Never Walk Alone. Anytime Patti was asked to sing for any type of variety show,
right,
she just patified it. Fantasia is another one. She does it.
That's right.
And the list can go on and on. So yeah, so Jamar, my favorite performance of the night. Bar none. And that's just me personally. So I was like, because Stephanie and I both are such huge fans of Magnus, like so huge. We were like, how could this happen?
Right.
How could they get paired up? Because we knew who was left, who had steals and who had whatever left. And I just was like, this is not looking good. Because Jamar done stole this round. He stole it. Because no one would have been able, in my opinion, Jamar was so in the zone, nobody would have been able to beat him in this round. So Magnus, with Magnus, you know what? I love Magnus's runs. I love his runs are so smooth. Here's the thing about Ordinary People. Ordinary People, and John Legend, you could tell John Legend wrote that song for John Legend.
Yes, he did.
He wrote that song for John Legend.
Yes, he did.
Because there's not much you can do. It's kind of a perfectly written song for a very specific artist. So there's not much you can do with Ordinary People to make it not sound too much. Because I think John Legend wrote perfect runs in the song, perfect riffs, perfect whatever. The thing that I was most concerned with Magnus, this is the first time I heard some pitchiness in this song. And I figured out very quickly, what it was. I said that the song was almost too big for a voice like Magnus. Magnus's voice is huge. They remarked on it.
Yeah.
And before the judges said anything, I wrote this down. I said, this song's too big for Magnus. Like, he's got a huge voice. Like, I wanted Luther. I wanted, something with that. So I was like, Magnus, Watch Your Breath. And that was just probably in the middle of the song, because then I quickly put a note to follow that. I said, what he did at the end of that song was gorgeous.
Yes.
Magnus has a gorgeous voice. And Magnus, I hope you're not offended by me calling your voice gorgeous, but it is. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous voice.
Yeah.
And at the end, I said, that's my Magnus. That's my boy. That's what I like to hear Magnus do. And I think it was the bridge. I think it was that bridge is hard on that song.
It was the bridge, James.
It was the bridge. Because that bridge is, it's difficult.
It is.
I I think any other person, I think Magnus would have sung well enough to get to the next round. But when Jamar did what he did, it just was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's my take on them. Stephanie.
For Jamar, the minute he opened up his mouth, I was reminded that there is a Motown in his throat. Like Motown is just sitting in his throat along with some Creole mixed seasoning. Like it just was it was just so warm, and like his vibrato at the end of his lines. Oh, it just, like you said,
he tilts his head back and sings sometimes.
Yes. Yes, it's the projection. Yeah. Like, it's getting that sound out while he's playing that guitar and has to have a mic stand.
That's not the best way to sing. Those of you who are like studying voice,
Yeah,
I guess that's true. That's not the best.
And, you don't want to sing with your head down either.
Right.
But yeah,
it was Jamar.
It was incredible. Like, and like you said, James, his voice has an old school sound, but it's not an old sound. Right. Like, incredible. At one point I was writing down like, oh, it just feels, he just looks so comfortable on stage. His ad libs are just right. The falsetto, he's just undeniable. And at one point I was just like, I'm gonna just put my pen down. Like, I can't critique this. This is not a performance to be critiqued. So much so that I told James, just like he said, it felt like Jamar was a guest artist that was in the middle of this knockout round, just giving a performance. And I was waiting for Smokey Robinson to come out from the back and join him, because that is how much he was singing the song down. Right. By the time he got to the second verse of this song, Jamar was so comfortable and in the pocket. He was doing things, making vocal choices in this song that I've never heard before. Never. And it was so good. And his guitar playing along with his singing is just, it feels like an unbeatable combo.
It's Stephanie, you and I both are very well versed on Motown. It was the music of our parents. We grew up with it in our homes. Mm-hmm. And Motown, I think the secret to Motown is all the writers for Motown, like Dozier and all of them, and Ashford and Simpson wrote for Motown, and just there's countless people. I get chills just thinking that. The thing that makes Motown so incredible, Motown music so incredible and so timeless, is the melodies. Mm-hmm. The melodies are undeniable. Right. The thing is you have to stay true to Motown melodies. Mm-hmm. And that's what Jamar did. Yeah. Even though Jamar did some vocal things, he always stayed true to the melody of the song.
That's right.
Smokey wrote an incredible song.
That's right. Moving on to Magnus. I love Magnus's voice. I wrote he has a beautiful tone, like it just round and powerful, but yet can be soft and tender as well. There were some really nice choices that he was making within the song. Because at the beginning he did kind of just sing it straight melody, but then maybe in the second verse or in the first chorus, somewhere along the way in the song, he was making some different choices. He did a little scat at the end of the song. I was like, come on, scat. Come on, scat. Love that. His voice is so rich. He's got such a beautiful, rich tone. The problem with this song, as James kind of alluded to, John Legend wrote a perfect song for John Legend. I, sitting here today, will sing Ordinary People just like John Legend, because I don't know another way to sing that song. Like, just, girl, I'm in love with you. Yeah, I don't sing like that. Like, I don't do all that at the end of my lines, but that's what I do when I sing this song. And Magnus's voice is so similar to John Legend's voice in some ways that if you closed your eyes, which I did for a couple seconds during the song, it sounded like John Legend was singing the song at some points, because their tones and their quality of voice are so similar. And I think Kelly alluded to that a little bit. Like it never sounded karaoke, because Magnus was making some really cool choices with the song, but it did remind you of John Legend.
Yeah.
Which is difficult. It's a hard comparison.
John Legend was there, he'd have torn it to shreds.
Oh, I know. I'm glad he was.
That's how John, Magnus, John. That's how.
That's
John
right.
is.
That's right. So, I mean, his voice is beautiful. I love his voice. I just thought that the song choice might not have been the best to highlight himself and not compare himself to someone else.
That's it. Because I'm looking for Magnus. Up until then, Magnus has sung everything to really highlight his voice.
Yes.
Stephanie and I both. He was one of our top singers. Like,
yes,
his voice is crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So, who got moved on?
So Chance picked Jamar to move on to the playoffs, and unfortunately, Magnus was sent home.
That's a huge loss for me.
It's a huge loss for me as well. I know.
Keep singing, young man. Keep
please,
singing.
Please.
All right, Stephanie, who do we have next?
Next up was from Team Blake. It was Grace West, who sang Here You Come Again by the Dolly Parton. Versus Neil Sosick, who I've been saying your name wrong this whole time. So I wrote it phonetically when Carson said it.
Keep us honest, Neil.
That's right, Neil Sosick. And he sang Taking It to the Streets by the Doobie Brothers.
You don't know me.
Ooh,
anyway, all right, Grace. Grace was up first.
Yes.
I wasn't really feeling the arrangement of the song.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with this Dolly Parton song. It sounded like an older Dolly Parton song, like early Dolly song. And I told because you all know how much of a fans we are of the band, the house band, The Voice. Like, they're some of our favorite instrumentalists.
Yes,
and we always just go crazy over them.
Yes,
I was like, Stephanie, this sounded like. Parts of this song sounds like it was produced on a Casio keyboard.
It did.
It did. But I haven't heard. I need to go listen to Dolly's version of this song to see if, because I know that we know this band, and this band ain't gonna come incorrect ever.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the critique. Let me go to everything else.
Yeah.
Doggone it, Grace. One more thing. I wrote this, Stephanie. I said it feels like the arrangement feels like it cheapened the whole song because Grace's voice is so sophisticated. I describe Grace as sophisticated. Grace, I was trying to figure out what it is about you other than your matchless voice. I've never seen someone on this show have such an ease on stage.
Come on, ease.
Grace, you make everyone who watches you want to be your friend.
Yes.
You have such an inviting spirit.
Yes.
And I just think this is just who you are.
Yeah.
Like, I literally, because I was so captivated by what Grace was doing vocally, and it was so slight, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Like, you had to really watch. Like, it was a turn of the head or half grin, or like almost as if she was like laughing to herself when she was singing it.
Yeah.
And I just like, I want to be her friend. Like, I want to be her friend. Every choice. And I wrote this. I said it was a very friendly performance because, and Grace, that's how you become a superstar. Like, you make, everyone who's attracted to you, and everyone who doesn't find you necessarily attractive want to be your best friend.
That's right.
And that's exactly what she did. And it was in the spirit of like what Michael B was doing. It was so subtle. Everything she did from the head turn to the singing like this and to the, like that, and the quick turn and the squinting of the eyes, and just it almost looked like she was having a conversation with herself when singing this song. like here you come again,
right,
like that, something like that. Like it was just so inviting. It was so friendly, and then it was just effortless singing. Grace is one of the strongest voices on this season, and don't sleep on it because she's also country and western, so that also gives her just a heads up above everyone. Just because that's just how the voice goes, y'all.
Right.
I love it. I love that Grace is a type of singer that's so gifted in a performance, and it's so understated that Grace, like if I was directing something, I'd be like, I have no notes for you.
Right.
I don't need any more, any less of what you are doing. It's just perfect. And I love that about her. Moving on to Neil. Okay, number one, Stephanie and I, like, this is one of our favorite songs, point blank, period. Like, when I heard Neil was doing, I was like, this dude
like,
can't stop. Brings country at the audition. Then he moves to Motown.
Yeah, he did. Heard it through the grapevine.
And then he moves to the Doobie Brothers, featuring Michael McDonald.
That's right.
I said, dude, like, seriously. Number one, you could tell, first note I had, band loves this song. Band's going nuts.
They're in the pocket.
And I said, and then I put, Neil gave us perfect execution.
Come on.
It was a perfectly executed performance.
Come on.
I said, Neil, nobody paces like Neil. That's Neil's secret power. His whole pacing. He seems like nothing ever gets away from him. Yeah. He's always on top of it. Yeah. I said, it's a seasoned voice. I said, he had everything. I said, I didn't realize Neil had all that he does vocally, like in his arsenal. And it's like a Devix last season. Like Devix pulled out everything. And you're like, yo, like Neil, every choice to the he's like pointing and like I was laughing because I was having Neil's a good time. Neil's a good time.
Oh yeah.
I said Neil always knows where his voice is and he always knows where it's going.
Yes. Yeah.
And that to me, I don't care if you're seasoned, like there's some people who work at that their entire vocal singing lives, where they're always trying to figure out where their voice is and where it's going. And I feel like Neil is a master at that.
Yeah.
I was taking performance notes because I was like, he's another one. It's like almost like he fed off of Grace's vibe of just being so natural on stage. Neil, I never felt like it was put on. Because that song, you can get pretty hyped on that song.
Yeah.
It just builds. It builds.
Absolutely.
And I just felt like Neil was always on top of it.
Yes.
Stellar performance.
Yes.
Stellar vocal.
I agree.
Incredible. Stephanie.
I agree. Starting with Grace, what an amazing, powerful, controlled country voice she has. Yeah. Like she is just solid. Yeah. Like her voice is undeniable. Like she is definitely one of those undeniable voices. She can belt with the best of them. Like she's one of those voices where I can trust her.
Right.
Like she's not going to miss. Grace is never going to miss vocally. I didn't know this song either, James. I have a feeling that the arrangement is probably very much like the original would be. That's the hunch I have just because of the way that it sounded. This was a song that Grace said that she's been singing since she was little. And I think sometimes you have to watch yourself.
You say it every time, Stephanie.
About these songs that you've been singing since you were little, because I actually don't think this was a great song choice for her. I thought that this song to perform it, you have to be a little bit more theatrical because the song is kind of flirty. And Grace was doing that a bit, but I almost would have wanted to see her give a little bit more on the stage, just based on what the lyrics of the song were. So that would be my only critique. It didn't hit me until I watched again this morning. There were at least 2 key changes in this song, if not 3.
Yep.
And she sang it so easily that it never occurred to me the first time that I watched it. And that's a big deal, because by the time you get to the highest notes, they're pretty high. But for me, it was never, is she going to make the note? I knew she was. So I wasn't even really cognizant of the key changes the first time I watched this performance, which is a testament to, again, how much I trust her as a vocalist, because it was never worry.
Right.
So I would have probably picked another song, but great performance, great vocal.
If you think about it, though, how scary it would be if she would have sung a song that or that would have been more like to her level of sophistication, if you ask. Like, because that's how scary Grace is.
That's how scary. We'll see what she does. Yeah, well, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Right.
So let's go to Neil. Neil is one of my favorites to watch on stage. Like you said, he is a good time. We saw that when he did Heard It Through the Grapevine, when he had to sing it by himself. He was a good time on stage, took that whole situation in stride. And the same with this song. Now, I hate to make comparisons, but I will, because I think it's relevant. If I'm thinking about Neil, one of the artists that I think is comparable to him is EJ. They both had really up-tempo songs, but one of my critiques about EJ is that I felt like there was a little bit of lack of control, along with all of the energy that he brought into his performance. The same thing could have happened to Neil, but it did not. Just like you said, James, he was always in control of his vocal while also commanding the stage, giving great energy, giving great stage presence, making it a good time. But he always had a grasp of his vocal. Neil gives me that 80s rock singer-songwriter voice. He reminds me of like a Billy Joel, because he's got that playfulness in his performance, but that 80s kind of vocal. Come On Band was definitely in my notes because they were happy. They were hitting. Come On Choice, when he got to that second verse, he was making these really, really cool vocal melodic choices that are very different than the original version. But they fit, they worked, they were perfect. He gave us a little growl, he gave us a little falsetto. So just like you said, James, he was pulling tricks out like, oh, you think I can't growl? I can growl. I got falsetto. I can sit in the pocket. I got runs. He was giving it to us all. He was giving us all, and maybe not even all, but a lot of the tools in his arsenal. And they were just nice surprises. They were awesome surprises.
Very tight rope.
Yes.
If you deviate from one of the greatest vocalists of all time, Michael McDonald.
That's right.
Very tight rope.
That's right.
And Neil ran across that rope.
He ran.
As far as I was concerned. Because Michael McDonald, he's just a voice you don't cross.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this was interesting, Stephanie.
It was.
So what happened?
Well, it was interesting in that, again, these are artists from Coach Blake's team. So it was his choice. So after the other coaches gave their feedback, he basically, and if this is not verbatim what he said, it was something to this effect. He said, I'm going to go out how I want to. And he picked Grace to move on in the competition.
He did.
I don't necessarily know if that needed to be said, because a statement like that is up for interpretation, and people could take it offensively towards the person that he did not choose. So I wish he wouldn't have said it like that.
Right.
But he ended up choosing Grace.
But
Coach Kelly still had a steal, and she chose to use it on Neil. So he is on Team Kelly now, and we will see him in the playoffs.
We all know that Kelly does not push that button lightly.
Oh, she does not.
It's like, well, if you think about who doesn't push the button lightly, it's Blake, Kelly, and
Blake.
John Legend. They
Right.
never
Right.
push that button lightly. If we
Yeah.
talk about judges over the history, or excuse me, coaches over the history of the show.
Right.
And Kelly is another one. She does not push that button lightly.
Mm-mm.
And the fact that she grabbed Neil is a huge, because there were some other monster singers coming down the pike that hadn't sung yet.
That's right.
And
That's right.
For her to grab Neil shows, but I thought Neil gave one of the undeniable, there were quite a few undeniable performances last night, but I thought Neil was like, I'm going to give you all of me, and I'm going to give you the best of me, and I'm going to make it undeniable for you not to press that button for me.
That's right.
And that's exactly what he did.
That's right.
Yeah. Because I maybe it's because maybe I'm biased because I love that song so much. Mm-hmm. I would have pressed the button for Neil, because it was just like, you don't attempt taking it to the streets.
Right.
And do what he did. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Who's next?
So next up was from Team Nile. We had Ross Clayton, and he sang Dirty Work by Steely Dan. And then we also had Jerome Godwin, and he sang Someone You Loved by Louis Capaldi.
Wow. Starting with Ross. Ross's musicianship is impeccable.
Right.
He's a musician's musician.
Right.
And when I say musician, I'm not talking about, because musicians are, vocalists are musicians and instrumentalists are musicians, right?
Come on. Mm-hmm.
But people associate musicians with instrumentalists, but there are some singers. If you're a good singer, in my opinion, you're a musician.
That's right.
And I just felt that Ross's sense of rhythm and his groove is second to none. Now, back to Stephanie's point, this is another song that Ross has been singing his whole life. His father introduced him to it, and his father died when he was a teenager. Ross is in his early 30s. His father died when he was young, when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
So Ross has been singing this song, or listening to this song and singing it for many, many years. So it could be, you could have bad habits or whatever, vocal bad habits or anything with that song. But no, this was Ross. This is Ross's wheelhouse, right?
That's right.
And the fact that he's singing Steely Dan, and a lot of people don't know, they're one of the greatest bands of all time.
Come on.
But they're also, very 70s, 80s band. His growl, I love his growl. Like, I'm telling you, his secret weapon are those glasses, y'all.
I know.
Said, Ross is my resident Sasha Fierce, because I just have a feeling like he's nothing like his stage persona. He transforms when he comes on that stage.
Right.
It is a true transformation. It's really something to behold, to watch him. I love the way he sustains his notes. Ross has always been, since the jump, one of my absolute favorites on this show, because I love people that step on stage and transform. That's just something I personally love. And Ross is all of it. And I love it every time. Don't ever take those glasses off, bro, because I'm not sure if you can still do what you do.
Right.
Because, and yeah, he's just one of my favorites, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I do know why, because he's a singer. Like,
that's
he really, really is. And I know that he has been pounding that pavement for years. And had to sacrifice and really hang it up for his family.
Yes.
He's like, well, you know what? I got one more in me. Let's go.
That's right. Love it.
Right. So, Jerome, wow. I'm like, this young man is 20 years old. I wrote, wow, you can really sing, Jerome.
Right.
And there is a maturity to your sound that is well beyond your years.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a young Johnny Gill. Because Johnny Gill had a very mature voice at a very young age.
Yeah.
Not that you won't sound like Johnny, because you don't. But it's just this mature, full sound to your voice. And I remember you're still very young. And I love, because I was like, when this Louis Capaldi song is a huge song.
It is
a huge song to because Louis Capaldi, when he sings it, like he just lays it down.
Yes.
With this song, I loved the haunting sound. He brought a hauntingness to this. Almost, I wrote this. I said almost like a weeping vibrato.
Oh yeah.
Like I felt the weep in it, right?
Yeah,
I felt the weep in it.
Yeah.
They had always talked about how theatrical his voice was in previous rounds, and I didn't really hear it. You heard it, Steph. I didn't hear it, but I heard the theater in his voice.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I as a voice teacher, I'd love to get my hands on that voice and have him sing some songs from shows to really like I don't know, have him sing Phantom or something. Like I just like he has such a dramatic voice, but it's not theatery, but I hear the drama in his voice.
Yes.
And the only critique I have, and I think this is going to come with age, Jerome, is don't let the song get away from you. I felt like there were parts where there are tricks, and Jerome, again, you'll come with it. This will come as you get more and more comfortable as a singer. And I didn't learn this, Jerome. You're 20, and you can learn this now because I didn't learn this until probably like my mid to late 30s, where there are parts where you don't have to go full voice out. You don't have to go full out because you have a strong enough falsetto to sing it in falsetto where it sounds like a mix almost, or not sounds like, it is a mix. When you have a strong falsetto, when you bring a little chest up and you mix it in with your falsetto, because there are those parts you didn't have to sing full out.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that, and it would have been as glorious because then when you did sing super high, I was like, see, there it is. He's got an incredible top too, and that whole passage or passaggio, it's a very tricky area it's the most unstable parts of the voice. And it's very tricky to migrate from the chest up into the head into the falsetto. So I would say going forward, take this song because I believe you're almost there with this song. Take this song and play around with those things, and you'll be great. And you'll be great with that. So, what's your take on these two, Stephanie?
So, starting with Ross, I was impressed upon hearing the rehearsal footage.
Oh,
like he was singing in the rehearsal. I was like, oh my, if he sounds like this during rehearsal, he is going to light the stage on fire. And he absolutely did. Ross has this really cool, at least in the song, but overall, I've heard in his voice like this really cool 70s rock kind of Fleetwood Mac-y kind of voice. But there's also I call it a country pickup. Like some of the pickups, the first phrases or the first parts of the lines in some of his choices also sound country as well. So I love that. Incredible control over his instrument. He made incredible choices. He showed range in this song. You could tell that he is not a stranger to the stage. He was uber comfortable and confident on the stage. We often talk about his glasses. And when I started to think about it, I found it really interesting that I still feel sincerity in his performance, even with those glasses on, because sometimes glasses or sunglasses or things like that can be kind of a deterrent or kind of be a barrier between the audience and yourself. And it can also allow for the artist to not connect. Like it's an easy way for them to not connect because of that visual barrier on both of our parts. But there was a lot of sincerity about his performance, and there always has been, and I love that about Ross.
I'm telling you, Clark Kent Superman.
Come on.
No glasses.
That's right. For Jerome has an incredible voice.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
So beautiful.
Crazy.
It's so powerful. Like you said, it's really mature for his age. And again, there is that little bit of theater in a theater component to his vocal. It's not theatery, but there's a level of storytelling and emotion that he brings to a song. It was interesting what you said, James. I forget what exactly you said, but I wrote down he made the song cry.
Yeah.
Like there was
vibrato.
Yes, he made the song cry. I felt the emotion and the tenderness of the way that he was trying to convey the lyrics of the song. I think he did a really great job with that. I agreed with some of the coaches' feedback, which some of them said that it felt like he was kind of finding his way through the song, within the song, and within the performance. And I think that thinking on the spot like that, if that's not something that you can naturally do, it can cause you to lose breath support. Me as well. It can cause you to lose breath support, and it can cause you to either fall flat or sharp. It can cause you to be a little bit pitchy because you may not know exactly where you're going. So if you don't have the skill of being kind of impromptu in the moment with your runs and with your musical choices and changes, then what I find best to do is to practice all of those things so that when you go to perform, it sounds like it's in the moment, but you have practiced it.
Correct.
And in doing that, you give yourself a foundation of breath support, knowing when you're breathing so that you do not end up being pitchy in spots.
Right.
And again, that's just something that's going to come along with more performance experience and teaching.
That's another song. The bridge is a beast.
Oh my God. I can hear it. I was right there with you, James. Like I can hear that bridge. I don't know what the note is, but it is up there. It's up there. Yeah. So I actually think that the song choice was good. I think that there were parts in the pot when he was in the pocket of his voice where he sounded amazing. But I think there's a couple of tips.
Good coaching on that song. Another week with that song. It would have been hosed down.
Absolutely. So yeah, I love his voice, and there were a lot of the performance aspect of it that I really enjoyed.
Absolutely. So where did we end up in this round?
So Coach Niall ended up picking Ross to move on to the playoff round, and unfortunately Jerome went home.
Yeah, the huge talent.
Absolutely.
Jerome, dentistry will be there, young man.
Come on.
It'll be there.
Come on.
I think you need to give this a little whirl.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have you have a good support system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give it a whirl. Seriously. Okay, who do we have next?
Next up was from Team Chance. We had the trio of sisters, Sorelle, and they sang Blame It on the Boogie by the Jacksons. And then we had Tiana Goss, and she sang God is a Woman by Ariana Grande.
The Ariana Grande.
The Ariana Grande.
Or Coach Ariana Grande.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, this was the shocker of the night. No one saw, and I got to give it to NBC The Voice. They kept this tight-lipped.
Yes,
no one saw this coming. First of all, Sorelle, we love you.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you,
sisters.
Yes.
Y'all are tricky. Y'all are tricky. tricky in the best way. I said, girls, y'all better bend those notes. Yeah, I said something else, but I'm not going to repeat it on the podcast.
No, not here. No.
But I said the acapella sections were bananas. And then I wrote this in cast. I said, everyone, I told Stephanie this last night, I said, everyone in this competition, after this round, everyone needs to be afraid of Sorelle.
Absolutely.
Like you need to, y'all, all of y'all, every last one of you need to step up your game.
Yeah.
Because these girls came to take no prisoners.
Come on.
I just love these girls. I love everything about them. I love the choreography. I love what you did. And I heard something last night, Stephanie, and I wanted to wait to tell you.
What did you
I
hear?
heard something last night. I said, my word, what a producer like Missy Elliott could do with these voices.
Oh, wow.
I knew I'd get that reaction for, imagine, the type of harmonies we know Missy writes. I just got chills thinking.
Oh, wow.
What? Missy, I hope you watch. Sorelle, if you got connections, you need to connect with Missy and Timberland.
I'm sure she knows Chance.
Look, I know y'all know Missy. Like who Missy is.
Yes.
Imagine.
Oh, I'm imagining.
Like the sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
For you young ladies.
Absolutely.
Like seriously, the scary thing about Sorelle is they took a bubblegum Motown song.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say this was bubblegum pop. This is bubblegum disco, right?
Mm-hmm.
They took a playful, fun Motown song. Because it's Motown, it's already going to be funky, like that.
Right.
Intro, do, like that's
right.
It's the groove. It's a jam.
Yes.
And they just slaughtered it. It was
in every way.
Slaughter. It was so good. You did stuff with this song that I would have never imagined.
Right.
God rest his soul. If Michael Jackson was here today, he would have probably called.
Absolutely.
NBC and be like, get me these girls. I want to collaborate with them.
Yes, for sure.
You took just a fun, playful song. You kept it fun.
Yes.
You kept it playful. But as I told Stephanie last night, I said there was some crazy singing.
Absolutely.
Being administered last night. And the crazy part of it was, Stephanie, it was individual and it was collective.
Absolutely.
They're all soloists.
Yes.
And Stephanie and I'll let Stephanie have this comment because Stephanie and I, we said the same thing. Like I called Stephanie and I made this one comment. I'll let Stephanie talk about it, but I made this one comment and Stephanie said, "Get out of my head."
Yes.
Because we both said the same thing and
yes.
And we'll talk to that in just a second. Watch out. Watch out.
Watch out.
Watch out. That's all I have to say. Sorelle, y'all laid the gauntlet. Like you really were like, and
mic drop. Walk back to your seat.
Triple mic drop. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how is Tiana going to follow this?
Right.
Because their performance, the whole mood, everything got brighter.
Yeah.
When Sorelle performed last night.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I had not forgotten, but I've forgotten how much I like Tiana's voice.
Yeah.
I really like her voice. And I thought that this voice sounded, I liked the arrangement that she did of this song. And I thought her voice sounded really good.
Yeah.
Really excellent with this song. She's another one that's really captivating when she performs. Like I want to see more of her.
Yes.
When she performs. It's another one of those performances, Stephanie, where I think if Tiana was up against someone else, she would have had a much better chance. Because I thought she sang really well last night.
Yeah.
Really well. But and wasn't psyched out. That's the important thing. She wasn't psyched out.
Right.
To follow.
Right.
To follow Sorelle. So
yes.
So yeah, I really like her voice. I really like her tone. I like the rise and fall, the intonation of her voice. I just love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Sorelle. Come on, choreography. Come on, choreo, first of all. And y'all did it so that it did not look, it was the perfect amount. It was not overdone. It was perfection. And y'all were boom boom catting. Come on, boom boom cat.
Boom boom cat.
The harmonies and the inflections of your voice together is just second to none. as James said, all three of you are soloists. And I'm so glad that, I don't know whether it was Chance or Reba that had the note to have more portions of the song where each of you had a solo part with the other two ladies backing you up. I thought that was a beautiful note and a beautiful way to highlight that each one of you is a soloist in your own right. But let me give a special shout out to baby sis. The brunette sis. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you all three of you were giving, but she was given extra hard in her solo portions of the song to the point where I was like, sing, baby, sing. Incredible.
Would you call her, Steph? Baby brunette.
Baby brunette. I said, you better work. She was giving, and I was all for it. Come on, sis, with the scat at the end of the song. I said, y'all scatting too? I'm for it. I'm with it. There is this cool grit in all of their voices that they brought individually and they brought together, which I thought worked really well with the song. The arrangement was fire. I love the part where the music broke down and it was just their vocal basically with the drums in the back. Incredible. This was straight murder. These ladies came to slay.
Are you kidding me?
I would have never in my life chosen the song for these ladies, but they slayed, which means I trust them with anything that they choose to do because the excellence that they come at each of their performances with it's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Moving on to Tiana. James, I agree with you. Her tone is so pretty, such a coolness to her voice, a lot of power, this really cool, pure tone to her voice. There were choices, especially at the end of the song, where I was like, she is singing this song down. Loved it. Interesting choice of song, but I will tell you, James, and we talked a little bit about this prior to us recording. I need you to especially go back, and maybe it's just me, and I will tell you my bias. I love an acoustic performance.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And this thing comes in with the acoustic guitar, which you know that I have a particular weakness for.
Correct.
And then it's just a little bit of percussion in the background. The keys come in. The mood is just right. And then when the drums come in, they are right in the pocket. The arrangement of this song alone had me coming back to listen to this performance because kudos to the band, the baddest band in the land, the voice band, because that, I almost want them to give me just the arrangement of that song so I can sing along to it too, because they were playing this song down. It was so in the pocket, which was a perfect feel for this song. I think that my critique about the song choice is that within the song, within the verses, there are lyrics that are literally shooting out at you like this. And that can be very hard to interpret.
Right.
They can be very hard to land those vocals, to land them clean, if you will, just because it's so quick. But overall, I really, really love this performance. And kudos to Tiana for coming after an incredible act like Sorelle. Yeah. So well done to both knockout competitors.
So who progressed?
So Chance picked Sorelle to move on in the competition to go on to the playoffs, and that meant that Tiana was sent home.
Great voice. Wonderful.
Great voice, yeah.
Okay, so who is our final performance, which was actually our leak?
Yes. So we had some time.
Our leak of the week.
Yes.
Leading into the weekend. Who
yes.
do we have?
So we had some time to marinate on these performances. It was from Team Kelly. We had Holly Brand singing Blue Moon of Kentucky. Who Miss Reba told us that Patsy Cline was one of the original artists. I believe there was somebody else who was the original of the song, but Patsy Cline, but then she did the version by LeAnn Rimes. And we had Rachel Christine who sang Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. Wow is right.
Wow.
You like my Blue Moon? I worked on that.
That was awesome. You better sing. You better yodel.
Come on,
yodel.
Come on, yodel.
I was very excited about this one. Also very nervous because I knew both of these singers were top contenders of this season, and I was like, here's another one that I wouldn't know who to pick
Right.
because I know they're both going to bring it. Starting with Holly. I already used too many adjectives to describe Holly. She is a force of nature.
Yes.
She is a force, like vocally, there's nothing this young woman cannot do.
That's right.
Performance, there's nothing this young woman cannot do. I love during the rehearsal when she was like, I don't know if I can. Kelly said, yes, you can. As far as sing this note in her chest voice.
Yes.
And Kelly said, just sing it. And then she did. And Kelly was like, and I love that Kelly helped her out with the confidence in that area. Top contender. Top contender. The voice is so clean. She is like, it's this not ball of energy, it's this force. She's this energy force. When she performs, you got to like sit back because the energy is literally pushing you back in your chair.
That's right.
Because she comes with it all. Like it's like Magneto in X-Men when he controls metal, right? Everything moves.
Yes.
The atmosphere shifts.
Come on, atmosphere.
And she's a supernova.
Yes.
Of a performer.
Yes.
Here's another one. Everybody watch out. Watch out, everybody. Holly is coming.
Yes, she is.
And she is a force that's going to leave nothing but destruction.
Come on.
But then how are you going to give a Fleetwood Mac performance low key? Because Fleetwood Mac is never high key, right?
That's right.
Fleetwood Mac is never high key. How are you going to give a Fleetwood Mac performance and make me forget about Stevie Nicks?
Come on.
It's so good.
So good.
It's so darn good. And this is the young woman who came in with the Alanis Morissette.
Yes.
And Uninvited.
She ain't scared. Like, Rachel ain't scared.
You're singing like that couldn't be more polar opposite of songs.
Yeah.
And you are a master at them all. So I mean, I don't have much more to say. These were two perfect performances for different reasons because it was total opposite performances. There was no intimidation. There was no diminishing of spirits. No.
Right.
They both, they weren't knocking out each other.
No.
They're like, this is like, they're going for, I'm trying to win this. And I have blinders on. I only see me winning this.
That's right. So
I don't see anyone in my way because there is no one in my way.
That's right. That's right.
Which was crazy. Stephanie?
That's right. Oh, for Holly. Holly picked a really great song in that it gave us a cappella at the beginning, which is always super difficult. It gave us slow melody, and then the tempo picked up and it gave us up tempo. It gave us yodel. She gave us range. She gave us yodel run. She gave us command and great performance and great stage presence. She gave us attack. She gave us, there was intention to everything that Holly did, every choice that Holly made on that stage. Yeah, it was I would just be, the whistle note at the end. Come on, whistle note. Because the way that the song was ending, it seemed like it was kind of winding down. She had been kind of up in her upper register, and it seemed like it was kind of winding down. She was like, I'm going to give you a whistle note at the end, which was perfection as well.
You had to towel your face off because like you were sweating because the performance was so intense. She was giving so much heat.
Right? Yes. Yes.
It was supernova, right?
Yeah.
She's crazy.
She torched the stage. But then you had Miss Rachel, as you said, singing Stevie Nicks. Come on and represent for the altos. Come on and represent for the altos. And thank you, Miss Rachel, for staying a while in that low register of yours. Thank you for showing that you can have impact in that lower register of yours. It was glorious when she got to the, I don't know if it's like the pre-chorus or the chorus,
right,
where it kind of goes up a little higher. And that was glorious too. But I just thought that she was so, I don't even want to say brave, because it seems like she is a true alto. And it's, it's so hard to show everything that your voice can do in your lower range, because singing in that lower space in your voice, sometimes the naked ear can't pick up to all the things that you're doing. To even the ending of the song, the run that she did at the end of the song, I really had to have my good ears to hear what she did. And I was like, you better slay the end of the song. Yeah. So I was so happy that, again, Rachel was representing for the altos and showing that you can give an impactful, awesome, great, skilled vocal while staying a while in your lower register. So beautiful job to both ladies. So, absolutely incredible.
So Stephanie, obviously neither of them could have left after the performance that they give.
No, and they did not.
It just was impossible.
That's right. So Coach Kelly ended up picking Holly as the winner of the knockout. So she will be moving on to the playoff round. But then Mr. Blake, Coach Blake, had his save still available, and he chose to use it on Rachel. So she too will be moving on to the playoff round. So we get to see more of the both of them.
Rightfully so.
Yes.
Well, Stephanie, we made it through the knockouts.
We did.
And what an incredible round of singing it was.
Yes.
So Stephanie, we got to run.
Yes.
Tell the Pitchies what they need to know.
Sure. So don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Pitchy Podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you can be the first to know when we drop a new episode. And as you know, we are on YouTube. So search for the Pitchy Podcast and hit that subscribe button so you know when we drop a new video. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at the Pitchy Podcast for new episode alerts, episode clips, and so much more. James, these playoffs are going to be a bloodbath because there are so many good artists left and they can only pick two artists per team. So we are going to be there's going to be a lot of heartbreak come next week.
Next week's going to be rough. But we're here for it.
We are, because we are here for a good vocal, and I know that they are going to be giving us a ton of great performances.
Absolutely. Can't wait for the leak too, Stephanie.
Oh, come on, leak. Come on, Friday leak.
We'll see everybody next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.